So 50 Cent came under fire this week when he said that black women aren't exotic and black women get bitter and angry when he dates actual exotic women. Him and Lil Wayne laughed over those remarks on their Young Money radio interview. And in the same week, our girl Janelle Monáe said that she is sick of the misogyny from men and from the music industry as well. Do you guys think that hip hop has a colourism and misogynoir issue? And if you do, what are we going to do about it?
Okay, so the simple answer is yes. and I think that is something that we all know. And I think usually when we're talking about hip hop and I guess anything that is against women, we are usually more focused, I think, a little bit, in my opinion, more on the whole colorism aspect. So we go hard over the colorism thing and why only the light-skinned female rappers winning and it's only the light-skinned video vixens and blah, blah, blah. And I think there's been a slight neglect, a little bit more of the whole misogynoir. I don't know how to say that word, so I just give it a flair. Misogynoir.
Sexy girl, it was so sexy, noir.
Noir.
Where's my beret?
I think we've had we've almost deflected from that a little bit, and I was like thinking so hard about this because for me it kind of like it's a thought that I've said on Twitter so many times. At what point in history or in the world did we decide that black women are the butt of the joke? Like, I want to understand, at what point in history did people sit down and go, yes, 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 and now we're all going after them? Because whenever that point started, I think is when it transcended into music and into culture. And I just find it incredibly disappointing, incredibly hurtful, because a lot of this is happening from the same men that we love and we protect and we support and we encourage. Is there anything we can do about it? I think we're starting to see a shift now. I believe we're starting to see a shift just with people like Janelle Monáe. If you listen to people like Rhapsody, like you will have now female rappers coming out saying, that's not cool, I don't want you referring. Queen Latifah said it, like, she doesn't want anybody referring to her as a B-I-T-C, like bleep. Like, she does not want it, yeah. And so I think we're starting to see a change happen. Whether it is something that is going to happen overnight, I don't think. But I think the waters it's starting to come out. But in all things, whenever you're fighting a battle, there has to be allyship. And I think the men need to start checking each other and saying, yeah, that's not cool for us to do this to our black women, but we're always gonna have clowns like 50. So
Percent is beyond a clown. Lil Wayne is a clown for laughing. Lil Wayne has a fully black daughter that he didn't even consider when he sat there with his straggly hair and his disgusting teeth.
You ain't gonna say that.
Absolutely disgusting. Do you know what it is, right? 50 Cent, you know,
I'm not going to talk about his musical credibility and his musical ability, but for him to sit there with his big-headed self and to think it's funny, but hold on, when did black women stop being exotic? Because I'm sorry, our nations are exotic in their meaning. Are you kidding me? Like, when I hear things like this, I just think it's someone who is so traumatized that they cannot see the beauty in their own people. So you're right, Anissa. We do need allyship. We do need other men to step forth and tell other men like 50 Cent and Lil Wayne when they are being clowns. We can't just be like, oh, well, we'll talk to our women privately about it. No, they have to come out in public and defend us. These are the same men that black women are forever defending. So we need black men to step up and be like, no, that's a clown move. No, I don't agree with that. Did you not see that stupid, was there a footballer, an athlete who went on Twitter to ask, oh, who finds Jill Scott attractive? Like, what? I don't understand these men. Like, are these not your mothers and sisters and your nieces? Like, are you mentally okay? So no, we need men to step out and be like, no, those statements are not okay. Our black women are beautiful. They're peng. They're sexy. They're gorgeous. Like, until we get that, us women alone having these conversations are not going to change anything.
I agree. And I think I agree with you so much because I don't think that we can separate out the fact, and I don't want to just talk about rap music. We're talking about rap, but you're going to find misogyny and misogynoir in like rock music. They say even in country music, there's misogyny, in heavy metal. It's everywhere because you cannot separate the misogyny from the society. The whole point is we have lived for hundreds of years in a patriarchal society where women have been seen as less than. Therefore, it has gone over into the music because that's just the way that it is. And I think with rap music, this whole colorism element, like, and Anissa's like, where does it come from? It comes from slavery. It comes from a place where the lighter your skin was, the more you were uplifted, and the more, and in general in society, like I was reading this book called Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given, and she's a feminist, and the whole idea, she doesn't begin this argument. A lot of other black feminists have talked about it as well. But whiteness is seen as the beauty standard. So the closer you are to a cisgender, straight, heterosexual, feminine, thin whiteness, that's the most beautiful that you are. And now what we're seeing is that if that's the beauty standard, our men are also saying, well, if that's beautiful, and this has been indoctrinated to us. Like, this is what the standard of good looking is. This is what the standard of feminine is, of successful is. And now we're seeing many of our black men, when they start to get success or be on certain platforms, they start to gravitate to what they have always been told consciously and subconsciously. This is the element of success. This is the most beautiful thing. And unless they start to kind of break down, why do I feel like if I'm successful, I should go for someone who's light skinned, then we're never going to begin to break this down. Because as Linda said, if your mum and your sister and every woman that you've grown up with is a black woman, like 50 Cent, like Lil Wayne, I'm talking about, like these people, the fact that you're trying to discard them and say something else is more attractive, there's something going on there, because we are one of the only races that feels this in such a heavy percentage, and that is a fact. That is a fact that our black men we're most likely to date. Our black men are most likely to date outside of the race, because we've always been told if white is the beauty standard, then there has to be something that's opposite. So if the closer to whiteness, thinness, thin features is the most beautiful, the opposite has to be the darker you are, the bigger you are, the wider your features is the most ugly. And we're just seeing them gravitate to what they've always been told is the best.
Amen. Get this girl a megaphone. Say it for the people in the back. I feel that 100%. I think I just wanted to really quickly give a definition to misogynoir, just in case anyone doesn't know, because misogynoir is a specific type of misogyny that is only affecting black women, which is why you can have fake feminism that excludes black women. You can have fake black power that excludes black women as well. And these things, I always say this is frustrating to me. Everything's frustrating to me, but it is because black women and black queer people contribute so much to the culture and contribute so much to popular culture, and yet are still largely excluded from it. Yeah. And I think everyone wants to scream black power, but no one wants to have the conversations about the power structures that already exist within the black community. And do you want to dismantle them, or do you just want to be on top of it, you know? I think that colorism, like, obviously it affects the whole community, but it just affects men and women just a little bit differently. And what by that I mean, darker skin is seen as masculine and aggressive. And so when you have a dark-skinned male rapper, it works for them. It works for their brand. It adds to their edge. It's something that they're allowed to have. But when you have light skin, because light skin is seen as feminine and weak, that's why the lighter skinned rappers, like someone like Drake, has a hard time convincing people that he's hard, because everyone's like, you're soft, bro, because your skin is light and you have
really weak. I'd probably say more delicate and more soft rather than weak.
Okay, but I feel like, synonyms, but but I
potato, potato.
Yeah, literally. But when you have lighter skinned women, like what you were saying earlier, it is connected to elitism, because yes, it did stem from slavery, but it still continues to this day, because even after slavery, you'd have certain clubs that you wouldn't be able to get into unless you were, you know, the brown paper bag test. If you were lighter than a brown paper bag, you could maybe date white people. You could work here. You could go into these certain clubs. So it's always been connected to elitism. And when people upgrade, quote unquote, they always have, if you look at people's like track record, they always have like a dark-skinned baby mum to start with, or their first girlfriend was a dark-skinned woman, and then when they have money, when they have power, they're then white, or they're then very light-skinned, racially ambiguous black people, which is just a trend with absolutely everybody, not everybody, but the majority of black men in power, or the majority of black men with money. So that's like
it's
really
Russell Wilson, who went the other way around.
I want to be careful when we're saying the majority of black men, because I know that there is like a high proportion, but I just like to be careful with the word majority, because I just don't want to generalize my black men. And the only reason why I say that is because I've had these conversations with all of my homeboys all the time, and they would always say to me, no, it's only a handful of celebrities that you see, blah, blah, blah. That's not, there's so many black people in the world, you can't say that. And so I've had to almost like redact my speech and be careful and say, you know what, let me stop saying it's the majority of you black men. I'm going to say it's the ones that the spotlight is focused on the most. I see a majority in that arena, but I don't want to say majority because I just want to be careful about not generalizing.
Yeah. No, I think it's so important to bring that in, Anissa, because I've dated mixed race guys. I've dated guys that are half black, half Indian, guys who are fully black, guys who are light skinned. And yeah, there are black men who adore black women, like of all races. And I think it's like you're saying, when we're seeing people in the spotlight, we're seeing something I feel like we see something different a lot of the time, but I don't want to give that narrative to black men because I've had a lot of amazing black men in my life who have loved black women, all different shades of black women. So yeah, I think in the rap music, I think it is a problem, but I don't know if are you guys saying that we should stop listening to rap music then? Because I'm sure that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, I would say no, but I don't know if for me, I don't know if things come in waves. And the reason why I say that, because when I was growing up, like my favorite female rappers were black girls. I mean, it was Foxy Brown, it was Missy Elliott, it was Eve, it was Little Kim, and they were girls that looked like me. But then when I moved up into my teenager years, obviously things got a little bit different, things got a little bit lighter, you know, we moved more into a Nicki Minaj and like a Cardi B, like things are just a little bit lighter, Iggy Azalea, a little bit whiter. But now I feel like we're almost circling back, and now my favorite rappers are like Megan Thee Stallion and City Girls and Rhapsody and Miss Banks. And so I feel like we almost like go in waves. I don't know how to explain that. I think sometimes it's like what's trendy and what's hot. So at the moment, I think it's cool to be the black girl or the darker skinned girl. So that's what we're seeing at the moment.
So what do you think then about people like Foxy and Little Kim? Because those are people that I really listened to when I was growing up, when they were having stuff that was kind of misogynistic and kind of over sexual and things like that, because that was a lot of the way that those ladies were marketed into heavily sexual, heavily talking about sex and themselves as just sexual creatures. So
because ladies, we need to remember it's a man's world.
It's a man's world, and as much as there is a shift, and yes, I do agree with Anissa, things have been going in waves, and I think, you know, as all these movements progress, it's becoming more and more acceptable and celebrated to be black and blackety black, but we are still living within a man's world. You know, men want to see sex, men want to, you know, look at women and feel a particular way. Hence, if you think of all the female rappers that you know, they're all twerking in thongs. Yeah, I mean, there's a small few of them that aren't, but they aren't given the mainstream success as the other counterparts because men are in charge. Point blank, period.
I think that's why I think one of the ways to solve this is going to have to be the way that we look at women in society in general. Because this whole idea of like women, again, we're seen as a thing of desire. Do you know what I mean? That's how we're seen. We're very sexualized as to, first of all, our body parts and the way that we look and our hair and our makeup. And when we're seen as an object of desire, you then strip away, as we were talking about earlier, our characters, our interests, the things that we like to do, what our skills are, what our talents are. And until we start to see in society, which I think we're seeing now, women as a whole being, we're obviously going to still start to see this very sexualized trope in all different types of music, and the only thing that we're good for is sex, because in society we're only telling people that it's about our desirability. Like when you get older and you're not as attractive, you don't get film roles, or your music career dies out, or all these things because you're no longer in your 20s when you're supposed to be, in terms of society, in the height of your attractiveness. Past that, Sean Connery was playing James Bond at 79. No, he wasn't, but you get my point. Men can be attractive as they get older. Women, you're not getting those sexy roles past the age of like 40, 50. They have to start making them for themselves. So we have to change society in order for us to see a shift in the music.
Going back to rappers though, for me personally, because I love rap music, it's literally one of my favourite genres, but when it comes, yeah, for real.
I thought you were going to come out hard like, break down the patriarchy!
But it's a struggle though, because I do love rap music so much and I do listen to a lot of rap music that I really have to pick and choose. I really have to kind of like weigh it up a little bit. So I think for certain people, I think making mistakes is inevitable. It's going to happen with everyone, especially if you're in the spotlight and everything that you're doing is going to be dissected by an audience. Mistakes are inevitable, but growth is optional.
Yeah.
So if you actually want to opt in to grow, then I will opt in to support you. If you choose to ignore that and to be like, nah, whatever, blah, 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 then I'm just going to choose not to stream your music. And I think that's everyone, like every person is problematic, like including us, like everyone has something that we still need to unlearn. So I think we can extend patience to people, but only if they actually want to be on this journey. So there are some rappers that I listen to that say misogynistic lyrics and I'm like, oh dude, come on. But then at the same time I'm like, okay, maybe am I forgetting my privilege in the way that I've been brought up to see this way? And I don't want to have like my kind of nose in the air to be like, well, you should view it like this, which I do think you should, because I do believe like in equity and equality, but at the same time everyone's journey to get there is going to be different in terms of our surroundings. Like sometimes people are products of their environment and it takes a lot longer to detach yourself from that and actually see the world through your own lens rather than seeing it through your childhood traumas. So I actually want to give people more patience in terms of that. However, there are men that do not give an F and are like, that are not only like misogynistic, but like unapologetically anti-black when it comes to black women. And then I'm like, I don't even want to hear your voice through my headphones. I don't need it. I don't need it.
I think this is the thing, in terms of like the learning being optional, no rapper, no one in the music industry, no one in any industry cannot say they don't have access to the knowledge to start to break down these things. And when you see people, specifically let's say 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, having these discussions, you're like, dude, there's too much information out here for you to be saying this foolishness. There's too much information out here for Lil Wayne to be rapping about how he likes a long-haired, red-boned girl. I'm just like, dude, like, there is enough information for you to start thinking, why is that my preference? Like, let me think about that. Let me break that down.
Yeah. Also, for me, you're not going to convince me that as a dark-skinned black man, you weren't there in school looking at your light-skinned boys' wavy hair and their caramel skin and wishing that you look like that. So you know how painful the colorism is, and yet you want to implement it on your women just because you feel like your money has helped you surpass it.
Luanda, say it again, because I said to one of my friends not too long ago, dark-skinned men being, winning right now only happened recently.
Yes, girl, recent. It's true.
Listen, only recently dark-skinned men started winning. Back in the day, it was all about light-skinned guys. And dark-skinned men did not like it when us black women were like, no, we want to light it. But for them,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.